What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So it's been a couple weeks, Thunderbolts have been out. I hope a lot of you have had the chance to go and see it. As you know, in my spoiler-free review, I'll put the link in the description down below for that if you haven't checked it out yet. But I love the film. I thought it was just really well crafted, one of the best Phase 5 films, and definitely one of the best films post-Endgame in my opinion. But I've already kind of given my main general thought, if in case you missed the review. Basically it was a 9 out of 10 ultimately. Like I said, really love the film, just really overall very well-rounded, well-crafted film. But yeah, without further ado, this is going to be a spoiler-filled review. So again, check out the link in the description for my spoiler-free review if you just want to know my general thoughts. But this is just going to be a quick rundown of the more spoilery details, what I liked, what I didn't like, which isn't a lot. But yeah, without further ado, guys, let's just get into it. So right off the bat, I want to talk about in the first 20 minutes, the Taskmaster scene. We had, ever since the first trailer, they've pretty much kind of been nerfing Taskmaster. They've shown her in scenes where she wasn't in the movie or wasn't even in other trailers in those same shots or whatever. And so, you're sitting there watching the movie, and Taskmaster shows up when Yelena walks into that, I guess, base or whatever. And Taskmaster shows up, starts this fight with her, John Walker, Ghost, and I'm kind of like, okay, Taskmaster's probably going to die in this one scene, because I'm like, she's got to be the first and maybe only death in this movie. She wasn't announced in Doomsday, she's not a very well-liked character, she hasn't been in a lot of the promotional material, so I was kind of waiting for it, and then yeah, sure enough, she takes a shot to the head from John Walker. See the blood, clearly dead. She doesn't even get a face reveal hardly. It's a 2-second scene where she's fighting, I think it was John Walker, and she removes her helmet and she's basically telling Yelena, I'm not after you, leave me alone. So it's just, again, very, not funny, but it's very ironic, and also we kind of saw it coming, because we were kind of yeah, she's toast. She's not in any of the promo material. She hasn't been hyped up. She may have been on the red carpet. I don't even know if she got interviewed at all. So yeah, they pretty much completely dissed this character. Hopefully this means we could get the real Taskmaster down the road. That's what I'm really hoping for. But yeah, that and then to top it all off, not only do they just blatantly shoot her in the head, when they're all trying to get out of the base. I'm trying to think who it was. I want to say it was Ghost or John Walker, one of them. Walks over to Taskmaster, and they just literally start looting her like a character in Call of Duty multiplayer. It's insane. They're like, oh, let's take this, let's take that. And so just the disrespect that they show to that character is nothing that I'm mad about, because again, this is not the Taskmaster from the comics. It's not the Taskmaster the fans wanted. I didn't absolutely hate the character, but she's definitely one of the weaker MCU characters we've ever gotten, especially on the villain side, and that's saying something, because again, a lot of the villains don't usually hit on much in these films. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say with the Taskmaster stuff. Just, expected for sure, but still shocking that they decided to do it. I mean, not even shocking they decided to do it that early, just the manner in which she just gets completely dissed is crazy. But yeah, moving on, I want to talk about a character that I do really love, that I think is one of Marvel Studios' best characters in years, honestly, is Sentry. I just thought Lewis Pullman did an absolutely fantastic job. I would have really liked to have seen Stephen Yeun, Invincible voice actor, in this role for sure. I know he was I think borderline almost cast in this role, or he was cast and he stepped out, but we were really close to getting Stephen Yeun to play Sentry, but wasn't to be. But honestly, Lewis Pullman just does an incredible job in this role. He really just plays this whole kind of torn, split personality, kind of like Moon Knight in a way, to where it's really a metaphor for depression and PTSD and trauma and mental health, and it's just everything this movie really tackled really well, in my opinion. Again, those same problems. Sentry is really an allegory for all of that, because he's somebody who hides his darker half. He's just known as Bob. He's the confused guy. Where am I? How did I get here? I don't really have anybody kind of character. And, for people that don't know the comics or don't really know where this character is going to go, you first see him in this movie and you're like, he's probably going to play a major role, but you don't expect the scene where he just absolutely gets shot by all the I guess, military, whatever, the Valentina Fonte, whatever her name is, gets shot by all her men. You know, he just rises up and you know, he doesn't really become the Sentry in that moment, but you know, you see that he has powers, like these Superman-like powers, and you're kind of just sitting there like, wow, this is Sentry from the comics, you know. And I think it's going to take a lot of people by surprise again if you don't know that's coming. They didn't really, like, we see the Void in the trailer, but they don't really tease, you know, you don't really know Sentry's coming unless you know the comics, basically, if you've just seen the trailers. But yeah, just the way that, you know, the Void is really a manifestation that we see in the third act of the film. He's really just a manifestation of Sentry. He's the darker half. He is the trauma. He is what he, you know, he puts on this face of, you know, PTSD and trauma, really. And it's really an allegory because in our lives, let's be real, guys, we all have things we regret. We all have anxiety, loneliness, fear, all of this stuff. And it just manifests in a way to where, you know, sometimes that's all people see when they look at us. And then, you know, when we try to hide it, we might look normal, but the big bear or the void, however you want to word it, is always going to come out in all of us. So just kind of wanted to put that out there. You know, you are seen, you are heard. If you're going through stuff, definitely don't struggle with it alone. We all go through stuff. I go through stuff. Everyone does to some degree. So, you know, just reach out, help somebody, be kind to people, don't be a jerk, basically, because, you know, life sucks, but, you know, let's make the most of it. There's still a lot of good in the world. But yeah, so kind of just going off that little tangent, I just wanted to put that out there for you guys. But yeah, you know, Sentry, just an all-around well-rounded character. The whole thing where Valentina basically manipulates him into doing her work, and he turns against the Thunderbolts because he feels like he has nobody, and he sees the Thunderbolts as deserting him, and Valentina is basically this motherly figure. I just thought, again, that was really clever, a way a lot of people that go through the stuff that we see this character Bob go through. Very similar stuff, for sure. But yeah, you know, just once again, Lewis Pullman just really takes all of the mental health struggles that this character is supposed to portray and just does it wonderfully. It's not done stereotypically. It's not done in a way that seems to undermine what people actually go through. It's really just done allegorically, however you want to word that. So again, it just works really, really well in my opinion. But yeah, kind of moving on about that, when you get to the third act of the film and people are just getting like taken into the void left and right because you don't know what's going on at first, and you're just like, you know, like you see Red Guardian and he saves this girl and you know, he's like, I'm a hero, I've saved somebody, and then she just disappears. You're like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And you know, you think she's dead, but then Yelena ends up walking into the void, and of course all the Thunderbolts are freaking out, going, no, come back, come back. So she walks into the void. She's having to relive her trauma in the Red Room. She's having to deal with other stuff as well, just kind of seeing trauma for different characters play out, trauma in her own life, all of this stuff. And then she goes and she finds Bob sitting alone in this room, and she sits down, she's talking to him, and earlier on in the film, Yelena tells Bob, when he talks about he has this darker half, or however he words it, she goes, you just push it down and ignore it, which is what a lot of people do in the real world. But, you know, here she's basically saying you've got to let it out. You've got to, you know, face your trauma, face your past, and you've got to move forward because there are people that still care about you. And I just thought that was overall a great scene where the Thunderbolts eventually run in after her, and you got Red Guardian, John Walker, all of them. They're in there. They're fighting their way out of the void. It was just really great. And then you obviously have Bob at the end of the, or right before they get out, having to face his darker half Sentry, and he just starts like beating the mess out of him left and right, and it looks like he's just gonna, you know, kill or suppress, however you want to word it, the void. But, you know, and again, this was such a wonderful allegory to mental health issues and all of this stuff, because Yelena is basically, you know, like, don't do that, because if you basically just, again, suppressing your darker half, it's still going to manifest. So you have to kind of learn how to live with it in a way, but you have to learn how to manage it, basically. And so all the Thunderbolts come over and just hug Bob, and it's like probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie. I'd say my absolute favorite scene was the scene where Red Guardian is because obviously Red Guardian and Yelena don't see eye to eye. She's pretty disappointed in him. She thinks, you know, her whole life was a lie. When Natasha died, Red Guardian, her, I guess, dad, wasn't there for her. And so there's that scene right when, right before Sentry becomes the Void, to where basically they're like, hey, we lost, we can't handle this, what are we gonna do? And Yelena's like, forget this, I'm out. So she walks away, and then Red Guardian follows behind her and is basically, you know, trying to get her to come back, see eye to eye. And I love the scene where it just culminates in him basically being like, you know, because up to this point, Red Guardian's basically just been the comedic clown. I mean, yes, you can relate to him because obviously, you know, this is a guy who, he had all the glory in Russia. He was the fame and fortune, but he just ended up ultimately becoming, you know, really empty inside when he felt like Russia no longer needed him, when he couldn't help civilians. And so, you know, outside of that, he's really just been a comedic character for a lot of both this film and Black Widow. Even that What If episode, he was really just the class clown, for lack of a better term. But in this one moment, it's just David Harbour's acting, the Red Guardian character, just grew so much on me in that moment. Like, I would love to see more of this guy for sure after this movie, to where he just looks at Yelena and he basically says something along the lines of like, I don't see your... I'm trying to think how he words it, but it's basically like, I don't see your mistakes, I just see you. And I just thought, again, that was such a beautiful scene. And then when Yelena just starts sobbing and going, Daddy, I'm so alone, I was like, oh my gosh, this is top tier writing for Marvel Studios. This is what we were missing, guys. And yeah, just Florence Pugh and David Harbour, just incredible acting in that scene. So that's definitely my favorite part of the film. Just, that really just hit me in the feels, guys. And then, but yeah, so I guess moving on to the end of the film, this isn't really, I guess, a spoiler anymore because Marvel Studios just casually decided to drop this like the Monday or Sunday after the film, or opening weekend of the film's release. But yeah, so they're all basically get out of the void, and all of them see Valentina. She's got the press there, gonna give this big announcement, and they're basically like, we're gonna arrest this girl. Like, half of them want to kill her, half of them are like, let's just break a few bones. This is actually a pretty hilarious sequence. So they walk behind the curtain, and Valentina kind of like runs behind there first. So they get out, and all the press is there taking photos of them, and she basically uses that as an excuse to say, hey, these are your new Avengers, and take credit for bringing the Avengers back into the forefront. Because if you've seen Brave New World, or, you know, even seen this movie, you remember at the beginning of the film, she's basically saying, you know, we've had a Red Hulk, we've had this and that and the other, and the Avengers aren't here to stop it, they're not coming back. So she's basically using the Thunderbolts to create her own team of Avengers now that she realizes they're working together and that she can profit off of this. So yeah, she basically says, hey, these are your new Avengers, and the movie just more or less ends. You get Yelena telling Valentina, we own you now, which was a really like boss scene in my opinion. So yeah, that was the asterisk. That was the, you know, Thunderbolt asterisk, New Avengers. I think it was pretty smart to market the movie as New Avengers and hopefully bring in some people, but at the same time, I'm like, it could be a little confusing for just, you know, casual movie-going fans who haven't seen this film. They're like, why is this movie called New Avengers? But I think if you go look on all the theater websites, like, the film's still called Thunderbolts. It's just the posters are New Avengers. So probably still confusing to some, but it's not terrible. And like, I don't think it's gonna like confuse too many people, but it is something that definitely make your friend if he wants to go see this movie fully aware. Hopefully he hasn't seen the poster yet, but if he does know about it and he's like, wait, what is New Avengers, Thunderbolts? Tell him it's the same movie. Don't say any more than that until he sees the film. But yeah, so last but not least, I'm just going to talk about the post-credit scenes real quick. There's two of them, so mid-credit and post-credit. The mid-credit scene I'm not going to touch on for long. It's it's like a joke to earlier in the film when Red Guardian mentions that he really wants, you know, that he sees the Thunderbolt team being on the Wheaties cereal box, and he goes to the grocery store and there they are, it's the New Avengers, and he's like trying to get this, you know, lady in front of him on this with the shopping cart to basically buy the cereal, and he's going, look, it's me, and she doesn't care. So it's pretty inconsequential, but it is funny. And then you get to the post-credit scene that honestly is probably one of the best post-credit scenes we've had from Marvel in a while. We don't get like any huge cameo or anything like that, but it gives us just enough to kind of give a sense for where we're going, which I thought was really clever. We get to the point where, obviously, because earlier on in the film you learn Valentina was the one that bought out Avengers Tower, so they're all basically just chilling up in there as the new Avengers. There's this joke Red Guardian has where he's made everybody's shirts with New Avengers but with the Z, because Sam Wilson wants, to copyright claim the Avengers, because if you remember at the end of Brave New World, he's forming his own Avengers team, so it's just kind of a little nod to that. So as they're talking and as they're kind of debating this stuff, you realize that something's entered the space field, and they go look at the footage, and it's the Fantastic Four ship. And obviously, the rumors we've heard about where Fantastic Four's universe, because it takes place in an alternate reality, if you remember, there's stuff about how that universe is going to get destroyed at the end, and they're going to have to come to the main 616, and that's going to be what leads into Doomsday. And apparently the Russo brothers actually directed this post-credit scene, which I thought was super cool. So, it was apparently last-minute decision to put that in there, but for the first time we actually have somewhat of a sense of what Doomsday is going to kind of be about outside of RDJ as Doctor Doom. We kind of see that, now I don't know if that most of that scene will be in the film or not, or Avengers Doomsday, if the post-credit scene will basically be in that movie to a certain degree, but we just learned so much about kind of where these characters are as a whole. We kind of learn about Sam Wilson obviously putting together an Avengers team, which, he said he was going to do at the end of his movie. And obviously now that the new Avengers are in the spotlight, they've kind of taken his thunder away, so he's kind of like, hey, because if you think about it, the new Avengers are basically government owned because they're owned by Valentina in a way, so I'm sure there's some rift there between Bucky and Sam in that regard, and he's like, hey, I'm sure we're going to get in Doomsday, at least I hope we do, that, Sam's going to tell Bucky, look, this isn't what Cap would want, there's just going to be a little bit of friction there to give us some really good drama in that regard. But, we learn about, obviously, the Avengers controversy. We learn that a lot of people aren't really into these new Avengers, as we saw in the credits, as well as the post-credit scene. John Walker makes a comment to where a lot of people just are really disappointed and underwhelmed by them. And then you obviously get the Fantastic Four tease at the end. So for the first time, we actually see where Marvel's going, which I think is really cool. We get, a very crystal clear direction. I don't think it was the right decision, mind you, to say, when they had the chair reveals, to confirm that all of them are going to be in Avengers Doomsday and that they're going to survive Thunderbolts. But at the same time, I do see their logic. They probably thought that it was going to garner hype for Thunderbolts. But, just from a storytelling perspective, we all knew Taskmaster was not making it out because, she wasn't in the film, obviously. And then just kind of knowing everyone's going to make it out probably lessened that tension for a lot of fans that watch those videos. And to be fair, I'm sure a lot of people went to this movie and probably didn't know they were going to be in Doomsday. Not everyone is going to be a super hardcore Marvel fan that's going to watch Cheers for 5 hours. But, for a lot of people, it probably lessened their anticipation for the film, even if it maybe raised the hype for others. But yeah, overall though, this was just a fantastic film. I thought, Schreier, the director, Josh or Jake, I can't think of his name at the moment, but yeah, he just did a fantastic job really bringing these characters back together. And as I kind of mentioned in my spoiler-free review, this is just old school Marvel at its best. It had humor, but it wasn't in your face, and it knew when to be emotional, let those moments breathe. It had great character moments. It took a bunch of characters people really didn't care about, because these are some of the least favorite characters in the MCU. I mean, Ghost, John Walker, Taskmaster, and they didn't really redeem Taskmaster, but just a lot of these other characters that a lot of fans were just underwhelmed by, wanted more of, and they really took him and made him maybe not household names quite like the Guardians of the Galaxy, but definitely got him excited to see more down the road. So yeah, I've heard that the director of this film may be in talks to direct the new X-Men film that's coming out from Marvel Studios, and in which case, I can only say I'm super excited to see what he's going to bring to the table, because I just thought he did a fantastic job with this film. Even the Marvel references, obviously there's some rewards, as there should be some rewards for people like us that watch all the shows, all the movies, and all that. But they're throwaway lines, they're small references, you don't have to watch really. I mean, maybe outside of Brave New World, maybe, and then Black Widow, you don't really have to do a lot of homework to watch this movie, which I really appreciate. It does a really good job at just giving us these characters at face value, kind of catching us up on their backstory, and just giving us a standalone story for the most part, with little hints and Easter eggs for what's to come. So yeah, overall, I love the film. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend to check it out. And yeah, that's all I got for today, guys. So yeah, spoil away in the comments. Again, this is a spoiler-filled review, so don't feel like you gotta post spoiler warnings. Let's just have a nice, lively discussion. What did you think about the film? Do you like the new Avengers? Do you like that they became the new Avengers? And this is kind of our first, I guess, Avengers film since Endgame, more or less. Whatever it is, just let me know in the comments down below, guys. And as always, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video, and I will catch you all later. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. If you liked what you've seen here and you want to see more, please feel free to like, subscribe, share, and check out my other videos in the link in the description down below. And I will see you all later.